Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. And now we have the first Electrified episode in the Tesla autonomous era. And I think the best way to celebrate the moment and also analyze the event, how it went, and what it means for the next few weeks and months, it'll just be to go through a lot of things that happened yesterday. And of course, things that are still happening today because yes, the system is still live and Tesla will continually invite new people. Because yes, some of the folks in this early invite group will be returning home. One of the biggest points to keep in mind as we go through all of this is one, Tesla's vertical integration with this program, as Jeff Lutz laid out for us in one place. This really means two things. First, over the long term, this is going to mean excellent things for Tesla's margins and profitability. But yes, it also means that short term, it's going to cost Tesla more to get the program up and running. Now, the good news is all of the money that was spent on R&D and everything else that went into developing all of these different parts of the business, that money is already out the door and Tesla still has over $30 billion in cash and is still positive free cash flow. But I want to be clear, if you factor in all of these costs that some other companies may not have, yes, the total payback period may be a bit longer for Tesla. However, as we've said from day one, Tesla plays the long game, and that's where all of these decisions and expenses are really going to pay off. So let's hop around and cover some things. I saw people complaining that the color of the car in the mobile app was too close with the background, but as you can see, the color of the car just shows up the actual color of the car. That way, the person that requested the ride knows what to look for. So maybe they can put a little glow under the gray car when it's on a gray background, but when you have the path in blue, it's really not that hard to find it. But my point with this is a lot of these updates and improvements Tesla can make have to do with the app, which, relatively speaking, that's the easy part. This image that was shared by Ashok went far and wide the control center, and everybody seemed to run with this narrative that this number 35 had to be the number of robotaxis that were live in the fleet, but there was no way for me to actually read the headline of that text. So personally, I'm not convinced that was the number of live vehicles yesterday, but as we know, whether it was 10 or 35 a couple weeks from now is not going to matter at all. But I will say this gets me excited for the possibility Tesla might start breaking out some robotaxi data for the Q3 earnings. Now, no, I don't think there's going to be an income statement call out line, but data in the production and delivery report or in the slide deck giving us some level of insight, even the tiniest of morsels into the robotaxi fleet size, rides given, miles covered, anything like that would be awesome. And listen, I have to warn you, if you have not tuned into the legacy media's coverage of this event, I would encourage you not to, because I'm guessing it is only going to upset you. As I said on X, the stupidity and short-sightedness is truly on a new level today, and I did not think that was possible. If you wanted one line to summarize the day and where we go from here, it would be from Charles, a Tesla engineer. He said, "A better lesson for physical world AI, hand-coded rules, curated maps, and engineered pipelines don't scale, data and compute do. Now let the scaling begin." Charles also said, "I've been a part of multiple robotaxi launches, but this one is different and feels much more profound. It's a paradigm shift. It's the GPT moment for real-world autonomy." And what do you know? The other robotaxi launch that Charles was a part of? The Waymo launch. He worked at Waymo for over 4 years. And yet he is saying Tesla's feels much more profound. So I mean, you tell me, who should we listen to? Charles, who works at Tesla and previously Waymo, who knows both of these services intimately? Or should we listen to these clowns that legacy media chooses to bring on air?
Is Tesla behind Waymo? Yes. I still have a lot of concerns about the fact that they don't have LiDAR, that they're not releasing a ton of safety data. I actually just saw a report that apparently people are capturing videos of them speeding, swerving into the wrong lanes.
Yeah, no thanks. Pipe down, Sarah and everybody else. You guys don't have a clue. Now, Lincoln said there were numerous robotaxis that were spotted without a driver on the highway outside of the geofenced area. All I have to say here is we know FSD works very well on the highways. It's going to be no problem for Tesla to include this in the geofence in time. But for a small pilot to test the operations, it's just a lot easier to not include that aspect. I'd also say just because you see robotaxis outside the geofence does not mean an expansion is imminent. To be clear early, overall, I think the day went incredibly well. However, it was certainly not perfect, and even today we have some things coming up. Here's a clip from Farzad and Hans, and I'll let you be the judge. A huge disclaimer here, some won't share. You can see Hans did this option drop off early in the app, which sounds like a feature if you're close enough to your destination and it's just faster to get out of the car at that moment or in the next few moments. That's what this is for, which means even if it's not labeled as a beta, it's likely going to function like that for now.
A drop off early feature that you can have. We can get out.
Oh, awesome.
If it will.
Are you close to the car now? Are you around here? Is that why you're using it?
Yeah, this is where we were going. Ooh, we are stuck in a. We're stuck a little bit in the intersection.
Okay, there you go.
Behind this.
Okay, we're at the corner. Okay. All right, so off we go. We got dropped off. You got my bag?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Diego. Thank you, buddy. Okay, so we're behind this bus stop here. And looks like we got dropped off right here at the corner. Oh, let's see. Let's see how it handles this.
He is stuck. I totally found him.
Did you screw him over? Uh-oh.
And then the car just sat there for about 30 seconds, which is giving off Waymo vibes. Now, in this case, it didn't really back up traffic or cause any problems, but it is certainly not ideal. Just to confirm, Farzad said it right here, the car paused for about 30 seconds before continuing. And naturally, people are going to have their pitchforks out because of this and some other minor things, but it's like, why is it so hard to understand that a pilot program is meant to test things and work things out exactly like this? Tesla gathers the feedback, collects a bunch of good data, and then gets back in the lab and fixes the problems. Now, I will say, I think it would be an awesome question to hear the engineers answer how hard or easy it would be to fix problems like this with a system that is fully end-to-end. And I'm sure Rob Mauer is a bit disappointed that one clip from one of his rides is being picked and shared as a way to say that yesterday was a fail. Here's the clip if you missed it. And you can see right here, before the intersection, the navigation was to go straight, but the car considered turning left a bit early. So once again, is this perfect behavior? Absolutely not. Is it dangerous or safety critical? Well, in this case, I would say no. Now, if the activity at this intersection was different, maybe it would have been a bit more dangerous, but those hypotheticals are foolish because if the situation was different, the car likely would have behaved differently. But listen, let's call a spade a spade. For somebody that's not a fan of Tesla and this is their first ride, it's certainly not going to inspire a whole lot of confidence in the service. But per the usual, it's just most people talking like it's either Tesla was a complete failure or everything's going to the moon, and the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. Another area that's going to need a bit of cleanup is the pickup and drop off. Now, some of them were perfectly smooth, but others, like Herbert's first ride, he had to do a bit of walking to get to the car. Now, yes, he requested the vehicle inside a building, so maybe that threw things off. But I was watching closely yesterday, and this happened on more than one occasion. Farzad even called it out, saying some pickups are not where the pin is and requires about 15 to 30 seconds of walking to reach the car. And not only that, but the UI currently does not allow to actually drop a pin. You have to type in an actual destination. And if you're not familiar, both Waymo and Uber do allow you to drop a specific pin. So yeah, that's something that right now the competition is doing better, but in the weeks to come, I would assume that's going to be a relatively easy cleanup for Tesla. Farzad also said he had a car attempt to make a left turn into a gated community. The safety rider pressed the button for the car to pull over and press support, and then support gave a command to the car and it went from there. I just want to bridge the divide here. It's okay to acknowledge that yesterday and so far today have not been perfect, which, yes, is probably why it felt like every safety monitor constantly kept their right hand on the right passenger door with their hand on the door latch release button, how you get out of the car. So it does seem like Tesla may have reprogrammed that button to do something else. But was it to stop the ride or pull over or to record a screenshot or to annotate an event? As far as I can tell, no one from Tesla has said anything official yet. And maybe it's just me, but I think it would be kind of cool if Tesla actually was able to do something like this. Just highlighting Tesla's software prowess, vertical integration, and adaptability. I'm really just guessing here based on all of the data I've taken in the past 48 hours. It seems like it might be an automatic emergency braking button, because we also know there is a button on the screen, but that would likely be for non-emergencies. But I would be curious to hear all of your theory, so let me know below. And if you want to argue it's just a coincidence and that's how all of these guys prefer to sit, be my guest, but that's not where I'm landing. But most importantly, even if Tesla did do this, that should take precisely nothing away from the fact that they are not intervening with these drives. That's not some magic joystick driving the vehicles, and like I said on X, if there were 0 safety monitors yesterday, most of the day would have gone exactly how it went. Maybe there would have been a few times where the outcome was a bit different, but by and large, they were not doing anything. I need to get this off my chest. Checking out the legacy media coverage of yesterday and today really has ticked me off.
You know, it was a limited number of rides in a strict area, and it was influencers in the back of the car. What are they going to say? They're you know, I don't know if they're paid influencers to go into these cars, but it was very optimistic. But I still sit back and think, Waymo is in 8 cities and they don't have geofencing.
Waymo doesn't have geofencing? Yeah, okay, guy. And the truth is, I could have an hour episode just on nonsense like that. But look, I am not a vindictive person. It's just watching the legacy media get completely shut out yesterday did feel quite good. And the reason being, I firmly believe people need to sleep in the beds they've made. Legacy media has trashed Tesla relentlessly for years, and so it feels like justice that they were all given the cold shoulder by Tesla and the invitees on Tesla's big day.
Can I talk to you?
It depends. Are you with somebody?
I'm Reuters.
No, thank you.
Even Chuck Cook got in on the denial action, saying, no, sorry, all of you blew your chance, it's over, to Bloomberg. So yeah, their bias has been so evident for a long time, and yesterday they reaped what they sowed. And if you want to get even further away from media bias, I would strongly encourage you to check out Ground News, the sponsor of this video, if you haven't already, because I know a lot of you have. It's just the truth. This is how I enjoy staying informed with breaking news nowadays. Every day, they process around 60,000 news articles from 50,000 different sources, which allows me to get endless perspectives in one place. I love the mobile app, but they have a site, of course, as well. Ground News exposes any political bias of every source, and it tags every source with a factuality rating so you don't waste time with fluff pieces, and it tells you the ownership of every source, which exposes even more bias, as we all know. The political bias ratings are based on ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations. As I've said before, I like to keep most of my day peaceful, and consuming news on Ground News does that for me. X is great, but there's huge political bias with many accounts, and most of the time it's just headline parroting, where the substance and the key context is left out. And Ground News has many other features that I don't have time to cover now, and I really think a lot of you would love the platform. So remember, you can check out the free version anytime to start, and then if you want unlimited access, you can get 40% off the Vantage plan using my link below or the QR code on the screen. Here's a quick support interaction.
All right, hitting support. You are currently queuing agent and will be with you shortly. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, trying to get the in focus.
Says the Robotaxi support. How may I help?
On the cost front, I am as eager as anyone to start figuring out Tesla's true cost per mile, but running calculations now with the data we have with a flat fee of $4.20 is not going to get the job done. This is most likely just an introductory rate, and when this goes public, things are going to be different. How much different? Nobody knows, because Tesla has a lot of flexibility with how it can approach this. And the truth is, Tesla has the ability to keep this fee here if they really wanted to for the next few months to win over new customers and to undercut Waymo and Uber in a huge way. But will they do that? I don't know. We'll find out in the next few weeks. All I know is it's encouraging to know that they can if they want to. Because remember, Waymo is still not profitable, and that was when Tesla was not competing in its markets. And let's balance things out a bit. There were some things that Tesla is already doing better than Waymo. We had this video from Joe Tetmeyer. He said, Tesla completed the task in a very natural, human-like way, while the Waymo abandons the attempt and drops off the passengers at a busy intersection.
Got to go into Terry Black's. Let's just see how Tesla Robotaxi does with Terry Black's. And there we go. Tesla Robotaxi goes into the parking lot of Terry Black's.
And here's the Waymo for comparison.
Smooth. Okay, so now here's Terry Black's.
Here's Terry Black's. Here's where we're meeting tonight.
Look how crowded it is. Where is it going to drop us off?
Yeah.
So let's look at the map down here. It's got a left turn in here.
Oh my gosh.
It's not in the turn lane.
It made a mistake.
Well,
what the hell?
Oh, it's gonna. Okay, so it decided. It thought about pulling over. It changed its mind. And
it says finding a spot to pull over. It's done it here. Can it even stop here? All right.
It did.
I guess we're gonna go. Be careful.
On.
Be careful.
I'll get on your side.
Yeah, get out of my
But
side.
it thought about turning left, and then it decided not to. That was a quick change of decision, I thought.
That was weird. I don't like that it just stopped.
It just pulled over
Yeah.
in the lane of traffic with its hazards on.
And you can tell by this angle right here, the Waymo just stopped right in the middle of an actual lane. As you would expect, there were multiple highlight clips like this one from JC and Joe.
You were talking before that.
And we're stopping for a pedestrian that just walked out onto the street.
And Tesla shared that clip saying Robotaxi will greatly increase safety for vulnerable road users like pedestrians and cyclists. Which brings me to my main point. I think it's fair to argue that right now in its current state, Robotaxi is already safer than your average human driver. Sawyer said he had a deer encounter where the Robotaxi slowed down and waited for it to cross. Rob also had this clip that somehow people are using to say Tesla was failing, when in reality I think this is actually a highlight. We all know too well that even human drivers can get mixed up and do bad things sometimes. Now, when it comes to service areas, you can see Tesla's right here in the darker shade and Waymo's in the light blue. So Waymo has roughly 2 times the footprint of Tesla right now. Here's the thing, I want Waymo to succeed. I'm just very skeptical they'll be able to, and here's my rationale. Let's say Tesla covers the same geographic area by the end of this year in Austin. We have every reason to believe that Tesla will easily undercut Waymo on pricing. And at this point, if you don't know why that's the case, I would just tell you go back and watch the last 4 years of Electrified videos. All jokes aside though, a lot of signs are pointing to the Tesla experience in the Robotaxi being superior already. Dan Berkland shared this video comparing the Waymo to the Tesla in the same situation, and watch for yourself. Watching it one more time, just note how the Tesla slows down significantly, taking that bump very slowly, whereas the Waymo comes in with a lot more speed, almost bottoming out. Dan said, as someone prone to car sickness, I experienced no nausea during his 2.5 hours riding a Tesla. However, within minutes of riding a Waymo, he felt nauseous due to jerky braking, throttle, and steering inputs. But we like multiple sources. Rob Maurer said, after multiple Tesla Robotaxi and Waymo rides in Austin, I have to say Tesla is quite a bit smoother. Zach, who's in the trenches, said Tesla Robotaxi service is just so smooth, handles parking lots very well, noticeably better than competitors. And as Elon said, all your media, streaming, and preferred temperature settings just work automatically when you get in a Tesla Robotaxi. And I do think having things like your Spotify playlists preloaded for you is a really nice feature. Not to mention in the future, your Grok profile will likely be uploaded. And to those saying, well, that's a nice benefit if you you already own a Tesla and have an account, but what about people that don't? I'd be pretty confident to say in the future, Tesla's going to offer an option for these people to create an account in the Robotaxi app so they can have their own profiles with their own settings, even if they don't yet own a Tesla. It also looks like in the Tesla app, it says when the vehicle arrives, the exterior lights will pulse. And along those lines, down the line, Tesla will likely have the ability to use the interior cabin lights to denote different situations. And you can run market saturation calculations to figure out how many robotaxis Tesla will need to saturate the Austin market, which you can call it between 2,000 and 3,000 depending on how you do it. But the problem is that's given the current rideshare market. So if Tesla comes in and offers rides for about half the price of Waymo and Uber, how much would that actually expand the addressable market for ride hail? Only time will tell. But my point with all of this is Tesla can have that many robotaxis in Austin within a week if they really wanted to. They can offer a ridiculously low flat fee if they wanted to. And they're likely already offering a smoother, more personalized ride as things are today. So I still have not heard good counterpoints to these arguments about how Waymo stays relevant other than a handful of people that are Waymo loyalists. Because in my eyes, the answer is they don't. They would have to cut prices to stay somewhat competitive, and remember, they're already losing money hand over fist with their current pricing. And as this all started out, once their geographic advantage goes away too and Tesla exceeds that, I'm unfortunately just struggling to see how Waymo is going to survive the next few years. And in case you don't follow Waymo that closely, they're not offering public rides on the highway in any of their cities yet. As Chris from Dirty Tesla shared, the Robotaxi did actually pull over for an ambulance for one of his rides. And when it was safe, got right back in the lane and proceeded forward. There are some other differences too, somewhat minor. Chris showed when you open the back door and you leave the window open, as you go to close the back door, the window will close automatically. And as we've been talking about all along, it's going to take time for this business to actually generate a profit for Tesla. Gally went ahead and did some back of the napkin math, and I really want to run some numbers on this once we get the actual pricing for the service when it goes live to the public. But until then, I think this will do. If you assume a Tesla costs $35,000, $10 per average ride, 15 rides a day, that's $55,000 in annual revenue per Robotaxi. But some percentage of that number, call it 30%, will go to other costs like charging and insurance, and 30% would leave you with about $38,000 in profit per year. So that's a rough break even of 1 year, a 12-month payback period. And then after that first year, depending on how much of that profit you take out for the costs like insurance and charging, each Robotaxi could do between $25,000 and $40,000 in profit per year. All that to say, I will be watching this very closely as things develop and we learn more about the pricing structure. But the point for now is we have to remember it's going to take time for this business to generate profit for Tesla. But as I highlighted earlier, this conversation doesn't even include all of the costs that Tesla has incurred to date. Billions of dollars on AI spend and inference compute and Dojo. So it really is a lot murkier than this, but that gets into different financial and valuation theories, which are well beyond the scope of this video. The Robotaxi also has some cool new features like cleaning the front-facing cameras using windshield washer fluid coming from the top. A Tesla engineer said it will be even better. He also said it's optimized for the camera view, not from the passenger view. The windshield from the passenger side might look clean, but dust can accumulate over time. Thus, it's proactively cleaning from time to time. Normally, people would not notice how Waymo cleaned their car because the sensor suite is on top of the roof, but they cleaned a lot since even light dust could create undesired diffraction patterns for LiDAR. And how does Waymo clean its sensors? With a tiny wiper on top like a clamp, and it rotates 360 degrees. Yoon Tasai, a Tesla engineer, said the bottleneck for Waymo is that sensing and compute unit versus the vehicle themselves are operated as two separate entities, while we know every single detail of the vehicle and behave as one. Plus, it's very hard to interface with a legacy vehicle platform. The control command latency can be high, and there's jitter. In case you're wondering, Tesla is actually charging people for these rides. And before I land the plane, because I don't want to overanalyze the first 48 hours, this is a fluid situation and is going to be developing now for weeks to come. But now we have the media reporting that NHTSA is aware of certain incidents from Tesla's robotaxis where they violated traffic laws. So for now, NHTSA is gathering additional info from Tesla. And what are these terrible things Tesla is alleged to have done? Well, the first one is the clip from Rob that we covered earlier, and we saw in another clip a human car did something similar, if not even worse. I don't see anybody complaining about that. And then they're saying there was video of the vehicles speeding. In this case, one was going 5 miles an hour over the limit. And their other example, it was going 4 miles an hour over. And I could go off on a rant because look, most people drive 10 miles an hour over the speed limit anyway. So if you really want it to be a limit, actually have it set where it should be the limit. Because whether you like it or not, the way traffic works today, 99% of people don't actually go the speed limit. And when somebody does, that's the person everybody gets upset with because it's way too slow. And NHTSA getting in touch with Tesla to review information is nothing new. That's quite literally NHTSA's job. So at least for now, in my opinion, this is nothing to worry about. In case you missed it, in one of the most Tesla moves ever, it does give you the option to leave a tip in the Robotaxi, but when you actually hit submit, it says just kidding with that little graphic. So you can leave a review, but you can't actually leave a tip. Elon said super congratulations to the Tesla software and chip design teams on a successful Robotaxi launch, culmination of a decade of hard work. Both the AI chip and software teams were built from scratch within Tesla. Sawyer did say the Robotaxi will automatically log out of all of your apps when you exit the vehicle to maintain privacy. When you take your next ride, those apps will be automatically logged in when you enter the vehicle. So what does all of this mean? Well, what we've said all along. This entire story is exciting because of Tesla's ability to scale. And the exciting part is they haven't even started that journey yet. But any prudent company would do exactly what Tesla did, a nice, tightly monitored launch to validate every aspect of the business model, find any flaws, and iron them out before going live with regular customers. I just find it fascinating how many people are so blinded by little things. The safety monitors, they were likely instructed to stay out of the experience and not to answer any questions. I'm guessing they'll be out of the Robotaxi experience altogether by sometime in August. And yeah, Tesla had a few hiccups with driving behavior, and there are some things to iron out before expanding both the number of vehicles in the fleet and the service area. But overall, I think the path has been validated. Tesla's approach can work. We know it can scale, and with a few weeks or months of refining and tweaking and adjusting the weights, the service should be the best on the market from virtually every metric. Yesterday, some people did have wait times of around 20 minutes, but many wait times were also less than 5 minutes. Again, with more data and user information and hotspots as locals are invited to use the network, Tesla will keep making things more efficient thanks to its vertical integration. And the minor stuff like editing your destination will be an easy fix. Same thing with charging. Tesla can just have an attendant at a supercharger site to plug the vehicles in when they need a charge. And then with a Cybercab next year, it'll be wireless. So for me, overall, the launch met my expectations head on. I'm on record predicting Tesla will have more Robotaxis in its fleet than Waymo by Q2 of next year, and we know there's a good chance it could happen sooner. And I'm also predicting Tesla will have a larger geo-fenced area than Waymo in Austin by Q4 of this year. So 2025 might feel like a slow ramp to those of us that understand what FSD is capable of, and it's likely not going to be until next year when the real scaling happens. But at least now we have an entire new business line to track and analyze, and I do hope everyone can celebrate this milestone because, as Elon said, it was a decade in the making. Tesla's now earning actual money from Robotaxi rides, and it's still very early, but it should be proof this is going to work at scale. It's just getting to scale is not going to be linear. Tesla does have some things to clean up and improve, and we can be confident they will. But the media is going to do everything in their power to cut them down, and there will be more uh-oh moments for Robotaxi in the days and weeks ahead. But I firmly stand by the following statement that if every vehicle was a Robotaxi on the road right now, the roads would be significantly safer. which is back to my point that in its current state, I believe the Robotaxi is safer than your average human driver. It's not yet perfect and it makes some mistakes, but most of them are not safety critical and it does err on the side of caution. So one more time, if all vehicles on the road right now were Robotaxis with the current software, I believe the annual deaths from accidents would go way down. It might not be zero, but it would be a lot closer to zero than where we are now. So I just don't want us to lose sight of all of that given all of the noise we're going to hear in the short term. So cheers to the Tesla team. I can't even imagine how exciting yesterday must have been for them, but we know they're likely already back to being laser focused on the next model and taking over the ride-hail market. Tesla stock closed the day at $348.68, up 8.23%, while the NDX was up 1.06%, and Tesla is up even further in the aftermarket hours. The Tesla volume was 59% above the average. Don't forget, check out Ground News linked below if you're interested in staying informed in a much more peaceful fashion, and as always, thank you for checking out sponsors to all of you that do. Hope you have a wonderful day. Please like the video if you did. You can find me on X linked below, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.